Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order open session. All right, we'll go ahead and have invocations by Bishop Greg Wells. Is he here? Oh, there we go. All right, can we have the invocation from you, sir? Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this night. We're thankful that we can be together here and live in this great city of Fountain Valley. We ask a special blessing over our elected leaders. Please inspire them, help them to make good choices for our city and for its citizens. We ask you to please help us as citizens to be good neighbors, to be kind and to be patient with each other as we strive to live amongst each other with all of our different faith and cultural traditions. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Greg. And we'll go ahead and have the salute to the flag by Council Member Kim Constantine.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Grandis, for joining us. You made it.
I made it.
All right, thank you. Once
Thank
again,
you for waiting.
we have a quorum. We have to start. We have a lot of people waiting here. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone. This is the first meeting of the year, 2025. I hope everyone had a great holidays with your family and loved ones. And thank you for being here tonight. Mr. City Clerk, would you please start with the roll call?
Councilmember Constantine?
Here.
Councilmember Grandis?
Here.
Councilmember Harper?
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Canine?
Here.
Mayor, Chair Bowie?
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. Okay, Mr. City Clerk, any supplemental communications?
We have none.
Thank you. City Manager, do we have any update?
Yes, Mayor and City Council wanted to inform the public that there is a Planning Commission meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. here in the Council Chamber. The Planning Commission will have two public hearing items. One is a conditional use permit for I Can Barbecue at 18315 Brookhurst Street, and also a conditional use permit for the Edison easement between Newland and Magnolia. The address is 1933 north side of Talbot Avenue. Also, our economic development team is working with the Small Business Development Center in coordinating beauty business learning opportunities. The SBDC will be providing several learning opportunities specifically to beauty, barbershop, nail businesses. The webinar will begin on February 6th through March 6th of 2025 from 10 a.m. to noon. And the 5-week training will be presented in both in English and Vietnamese. We have a Valentine's dance at the center, the Senior Center at the Founders Village on February 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. For more information, please visit our facility or contact our Community Services Department for tickets. We have free tax filing with AARP. They provide free tax assistance to people 60 plus. Appointments are available Mondays and Wednesday through April. You can call 714-593-4446 to schedule. That concludes my presentation, Mayor.
Thank you so much, City Manager Maggie Lee. City Attorney, Mr. Collin, do we have any reporting on any closed session items?
No, Mr. Mayor. The council gave direction to the attorney, but there was no reportable action.
Great, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Okay, we have a few presentations for tonight, and the first presentation we have for tonight, I'm going to call on Debbie Fivey, Training and Special Program Manager, to accept the proclamations. She's here. Great, thank you. Okay, so I'll go ahead and first of all, thank you for your service. And this is a proclamations for 30 years anniversary for your service. And I'm going to read you the proclamations, whereas Trauma Intervention Program is a national nonprofit organization founded in 1985 and has served Orange County since 1995. And has 15 affiliates serving over 250 cities across the nation, with each affiliate using specifically trained volunteers who respond to traumatic incidents in the support of survivors and their families in the first few hours following a tragedy. And whereas at the year 365 years, they call police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and hospital personnel to assist family members and friends following a natural or unexpected death. Whereas, I'm going acronym TIPS, I think that's what they call it, right? Orange County affiliate has over 125 active volunteers, and that serve 26 cities, 14 hospitals, and numerous public safety organizations, as well as unincorporated Orange County, such as airport and harbor. Whereas TIP has received the prestigious Innovation Award in state and local government from Harvard University and Ford Foundations, and the Crime Victim Service Award from the United States Justice Department, and the Government Victim Service Award from the state of California. Whereas TIP will be presented its heroes with heart celebrations and fundraiser on Wednesday, February 19, 2025, that will be recognize the outstanding public service for Orange County Public Safety and Fire Department honoree. Now, therefore, the city of Fountain Valley hereby commend Trauma Intervention Program, Inc. of Orange County in the celebration of their 30th anniversary for their outstanding public service to Orange County. Once again, congratulations. And would you like to say a few words before I come out with the proclamations?
Yes, thank you for this proclamation. We are very grateful for it. As you've said, we have been serving Orange County for over 30 years now. I have some stats particular to your city, and we have helped 176 of your residents in the last 12 months. We attend all kinds of calls, but in this city specifically, we've had death in homes, we've had suicides, we've had motor vehicle accidents, domestic situations and drownings. Our average response time from our volunteers is 24 minutes, and we look forward to being part of this great city again for the next 12 months. Thank you very much for honoring us.
Thank you. Okay. Now I'd like to invite my council member to come down and take a photo with us, please. All right, moving on. The next recognitions I have here is for Republic Services employee Eddie Chavez. All right, so Eddie Chavez has been recognized today for his selfless act of kindness. While on his route, Eddie stopped to assist a resident during a medical emergency. Eddie called 911 on her behalf and waited for the resident until medical help arrived to ensure she was in good hands. the grateful resident called Republic Services to thank him for his involvement. So once again, great job, Ed. So on behalf of the city, there's a certificate of recognition for you, Eddie, and hopefully this will inspire others to do what you just did. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm humbled by this recognition. I appreciate it. I believe we create the world we want to live in, and looking out for one another is what I believe in. Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. City Clerk, is there any request to speak on successor agency Housing Authority for public comments?
I have no request to speak on unscheduled matters.
Okay, thank you so much. And is there any comment to request to speak on scheduled matter only?
I have several requests to speak, all on item number 6, which is the public hearing item.
Okay, all right, well, I guess we'll call now? No, we'll call at the time, right? Okay, all right. So we'll go ahead and move along to the consent calendar. 1 through 5 will be approved simultaneously with one motion unless a separate action or discussion is required. Does anyone want to any items to be pulled or removed? Nope.
I'll move that we approve items 1 through 5.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and second. Let's go to the voting.
All right. Give me a second, the system is
Okay.
not as quick as you.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Again, who was the first and second?
It was
Aye.
first by Councilmember Grandis and second by
Me.
Councilmember Constantine.
Thank you.
Oh, system is up.
Okay.
There we go.
Now vote.
Okay.
Items 1 through 5 pass 5-0.
Great, thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor, before moving on, I should report that there was, oh no, I did report no reportable
Oh,
action in
did you?
closed session.
Sorry. Okay.
Just making sure we
I missed
fully
it.
compliant.
Sorry.
It's all right. Well, thank you. I'd rather catch it now than later.
So you're reporting that there's nothing to report?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Twice.
Take them when you can get them.
We did have 2 items, so there was nothing to report on either item now.
That's what I was clarifying.
There you
Thank
go. We'll look out for you.
Thanks.
All right. All right, moving on to the next items will be item number 6. And we'll have staff do a presentation on public hearing, if there's anybody requests to speak.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I actually charted it out. I live not even 400 feet from part 2 of this 3-part fine-tuning of the general plan, and that's South Park. So in good faith, and all I do need to recuse myself, and I apologize, but that's what I need to do. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. We'll make sure we'll go and get you before the next item. Thank you. All right. Our Planning Director, Omar Delaboy.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. It's good to be with you this evening. We have before you consideration of 3 specific plan amendments. These are to ensure consistency with our general plan and housing elements that were adopted recently, and also to meet the requirements of state law. If you were able to view my presentation, especially those members of the public, during a planning commission meeting, I apologize, but this will be essentially the same presentation, but bear with me, please. So we'll go over the proposed specific plan amendments, describe each one of them, the process that we've taken, what is entailed, and then the recommended actions. So we went through a multi-year general plan and housing element update. We had a significant amount of outreach with the community through the City Council, the Planning Commission, our General Plan Advisory Committee, and then meetings in the community. Through that process, we came up with a vision in the general plan for Fountain Valley 2045. And then also, we are required to have a certified housing element that covers the years of 2021 to 2029. And we met that requirement, unlike many cities that were not fortunate enough to have a certified housing element. We were one of the few that did. And so, again, there was a multi-year process that we went through. We did receive our state certification. Part of the housing element, as many of the community are now aware, is the RHNA process, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. Through that process, the state decides how many units that we need to accommodate as a state for this period. They then give a number to SCAG, our regional planning board, that lays out for the Southern California area minus San Diego County what the growth will be for this period and the need for so many residential units. And then SCAG puts a formula together and then pops out a number that says, in essence, Fountain Valley, you need to accommodate 4,839 units between 2021 and 2029. You don't have to build those units, but you need to allow for those through zoning and land use. And unlike previous cycles, what this cycle included was not only growth, but also looking at overcrowding conditions and accommodating or adjusting for overcrowding. And so, again, the RHNA for the city is 4,839 units. You can see the breakdown by income category there. About 2,093 in those lower income categories. Those are the difficult ones to get to. And just for information, we base those on area median income. Orange County's area median income for 2024 was $129,000 for a family of 4. So to meet that requirement, to find space available for those units and a little bit of extra buffer, we allocated those units to the properties you see here. All of those have been rezoned except for the 3 specific plan areas. That's the Crossings, South Park, and the Lowe's Cab area, the Warner, which is Warner New Hope specific plan. This is the table from the housing element that you've seen many times as well, that lays out the number of units per each. This is not a guaranteed number of what's going to happen there. It is a number that we could agree to based on the circumstances that HCD said, okay, fine, that's how many units you can allocate per property. So there could be less units, there could be more units, but this is the number that we could get HCD to agree to for each of those properties in specific plan areas. So just to go over the proposed amendments, just to clarify, there is no project or application currently before the city for any of these properties. This is just a rezoning to allow for future development to meet the requirements of state law. So, crossing specific plan currently allows for 491 units. That was adopted, I think, the 2017-2018 time period. None of those 491 units have been built to date, but this would allow for 1,100 units to be built in that area. And that's the simplest. This is the simplest of the amendments. It just is replacing the number 491 with 1,100 units. South Park specific plan, this area would allow for 1,100 units. with R5 and MU2 standards. If you recall, when we did the inclusionary housing requirement of 15% affordable per development, the property owner here requested land donations. And so at that time, I think staff and planning commission, city council agreed that that could be something beneficial. So we've included that in the South Park specific plan as well. And then Warner New Hope would allow for 676 residential units with R5 and MU2 standards, and the areas affected would be the A, C, and K areas. So you can see on the left from the housing element, the area that we're referring to, and then A, C, and K on the right in the specific plan. So these kind of break down the number of units and the densities for each area. And so, as I stated in Planning Commission as well, we don't like to normally go over what happens if you don't do something. We don't, we're not very keen on doing that, but there are increased consequences for not meeting our rezones, which have to be done by February 12th of this year. The previous time we had to do it by was October 15th, and then state law, they passed a new state law and pushed it out to February 12th of this year. So that's why you're seeing this action at this time. So there's increased legal liability, loss of control. The state's trying to come in, and if you don't have a certified element, they're trying to come in and require things to happen. You might lose grant funds. That's already happened, where some cities have lost grant funding like PCLH and those types of things. But the biggest change has been a builder's remedy. That's been a part of state law for some time. Nobody really took advantage of it. But now you're seeing that is being used more and more by developers. And that basically says if you don't have a certified housing element, a builder can come in and pick any property, regardless of whether it's zoned residential or not, and they can kind of pick their own standards and put residential developments there. It's happening quite a bit. It's happening more and more. These are just the cities that we found online that it's happening to, but this is not a complete list. This is just ones that we know about from online resources. And there are a few in Orange County. And they're engaged in lawsuits at this time. So we presented this to the Planning Commission. They adopted resolutions recommending that the City Council adopt the ordinances before you this evening. We're asking for you to give first reading to these tonight, and then we'll come back to you for a second reading on February 4th if first reading is given. And so recommended action is to give first reading to the code amendments encapsulated in the ordinances before you this evening. So that concludes staff's report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Omar Dedeboy, for the presentations. Before we go ahead and have a discussions and comments from my colleague, I want to go ahead and open the floor for public hearing for comments first.
So can I make a quick comment? I know that Eileen Asahe has an event this evening and asked to go first. Can we make sure she, oh, you already took care of it. Okay, thank you.
Something I didn't know.
With that being said, Eileen Asahi.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay, great, because sometimes it's hard to hear back there. So, Honorable Mayor and Council members, my name is Eileen Asahi. I've been a resident of Fountain Valley since 1986. I stand before you tonight to express my deep concern about the proposed zoning amendment that would concentrate new housing development within a 1-mile radius on the eastern side of our city. The state may have mandated more housing, but they did not mandate the severe concentration development in one single area. The impact of this concentrated development would be huge and irreversible for those of us living on the east side of the city. The city's layout was not designed for such high concentration of people. This sudden localized surge in density would severely impact the livability in the area. I want to be clear that this is not about opposing new housing. This is about responsible, equitable distribution of development across our city. The Planning Commission and City Council have, in my view, failed to adequately explore alternative locations for this mandated housing. The commercial corridor along Brookhurst Street, for instance, presents a perfect opportunity for mixed-use development similar to Bella Terra. I must also address the manner concerning the integrity of this decision-making process. Our previous mayor accepted substantial donations from the development interests before approving the Slater project. I respectfully request that any council member who has received donations from development companies recuse themselves from voting on this amendment. The appearance of conflict of interest undermines public trust in our local government. This city council was elected with the trust and confidence of our residents. We believe you would protect our interests and find balanced solutions for state mandates. Tonight's decision carries particular weight because of SB 35, which would make approval of qualifying developments mandatory. The choices made here tonight could set irreversible changes in motion. The community's opposition to this amendment is overwhelming. I made a post on Nextdoor last week and garnered 5,500 views with comments unanimously opposed to this concentrated development approach. These are your constituents, and they are sending you a clear message. Thank you very much for your time.
Daniel Asahi.
Good evening. My name is Danny Asahi. I'm a longtime resident of Fountain Valley, Slater, and Euclid. I'm here tonight also to oppose the new zoning amendment. I'd like to make the following points. The proposed amendment places nearly all of, not nearly, but a huge amount of this new housing along Euclid, and the 1,000 or more residents of other new developments will also be using Euclid to get on the freeway as well as local destinations. This does not seem like great planning. I hope that the council does not put too much faith in the reports and studies that have been done. I've been made aware, for example, that a traffic study which was done some years ago was done during the summer when school was out. This calls into question how other such studies may be hiding the real impact of these developments, such as the effect on air quality by thousands of additional vehicles in that small area. I'm not convinced that our city has explored better options for equitably distributing new housing. For example, the Crossings development zone is already occupied by many businesses. If it is the case that such areas can be zoned to meet these numbers, why is it not the case that commercial areas along major streets like Brookhurst cannot be zoned to distribute the housing more evenly? If all we have to do is zone for certain numbers, then more areas should be part of that solution. I'm also not aware of our city representatives pushing back at all on these unreasonable housing numbers imposed by the state. I don't think we have seen any effort on the part of our Fountain Valley local government to push back on behalf of the people they represent, especially on these thoughtless demands that threaten our quality of life in Fountain Valley. I would like to reiterate the request that anyone voting on the zoning amendment who has accepted money from developers recuse themselves from voting on an issue that places the interests of residents against those of development companies. And I would also like to reiterate that we should keep in mind California SB 35. This law, which is already in effect, could make approval of new developments mandatory. Not even the city council could stop them then. So the decision to build may be effectively made tonight. The people who elected you will be paying attention to how you vote. Thank you very much.
Dean.
Mr. Mayor, brief comment for informational purposes. We did appeal the RENA numbers. We lost the appeal.
Okay. Thank you. Could you?
The city of Fountain Valley did appeal the RENA numbers. That's those allocations of housing, and we lost that appeal, but we did fight that.
Next speaker is Dean.
Good evening, Mayor and the Council. My name is Dean, and I live at 18627 Brooker Street in Fountain Valley. And I'm speaking on behalf of many of the members of the Los Caballeros Sports Club located at Warner and New Hope. I've been a member of Los Cab since 1986. I would like to address specifically Code Amendment 25-03, the building of over 660 housing units on the Los Cab property. I would like to address 3 points to this council in opposition to that amendment. First, parking, as you already heard, with the members, the residents, and the business located at Los Cab, we currently are having a problem of parking spaces. If you build over 660 housing units, you potentially are adding an additional 1,200 cars to an already congested parking lot, and I haven't even addressed the people who live at Los Cab already. Second, traffic congestion. Obviously, adding a potentially 1,200 additional cars on New Hope would be devastating to the businesses that are already located there. And when you have to use New Hope for both ingress and egress, not to say the additional 1,200 cars are going to be able to use New Hope for ingress and egress without causing a horrific traffic jam. Third, Los Cab itself. I would like to talk about Los Cab. There is no place in Orange County that provides such a wide variety of activities. Nowhere in Orange County can you find or can you readily participate in tennis, pickleball, basketball, volleyball, handball, racquetball, swimming, gymnastics. If you abandon the Los Cab facility, would be detrimental to the Fountain Valley residents as well as the surrounding cities. I understand the economics involved wherein the approval of the amendment will benefit the profits of the developers as well as the city council. However, sometimes as council members and mayor, for the Fountain Valley residents, I hope you put aside the money for the benefit of your Fountain Valley constituents, as well as the surrounding cities who also benefit from Los Caballeros itself. If you deny the amendment, your Fountain Valley residents will benefit both physically and mentally. Thank you.
James Henshaw. James Henshaw.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Henshaw. I am with CFG Investments. We are a real estate and property management business located in the Los Caballeros Sports Complex. I can tell you that many of the businesses in the Los Caballeros Sports Complex, which would be affected by Amendment 25-03, are businesses that have been here for 30, 40, 50 years. My business has actually been here for 45 years and has been in the Los Caballeros Sports Complex the entire time. The reason why that complex works very well for the business community is because we share all sorts of amenities, such as parking, such as access, such as all sorts of other things that we need to continue to share in order for our businesses to operate and move forward. The plan, which is set forth in Amendment 25-03, does not take any of that into consideration. It is not taken into consideration as to what would happen for parking. We have to share approximately 940 parking spaces among those 50 businesses, including the residents who live there and including the Los Caballeros Sports Club. The report that you have seen indicates that those parking spaces are absolutely needed for the business community to continue to thrive at the Los Caballeros Sports Club, but there is nothing indicated in the report as to what would happen to replace those parking spaces. There is nothing in the report that is before you which indicates what would be done for the traffic problems that would be created. Unless our clients can get to our businesses, unless the patients for the doctors who operate in my building, the dentists who operate in my building, the lawyers, the accountants, unless their clients can actually get to the building, their businesses will not operate. We have had some previews of coming attractions while we have been at the Los Caballeros Sports Complex, and we love the Los Caballeros Sports Club. We really do. But that club has actually put on some tournaments in the past, which have given us a preview of what's going to happen if we have this level of density at our complex. And if our parking is taken away, if our access is taken away, if our infrastructure is taken away, these businesses cannot operate and they will have to leave the city of Fountain Valley. We ask you to vote no as to Amendment 25-03 because it's not a good amendment for the city of Fountain Valley. It's not a good amendment for your citizens of Fountain Valley, and it's not a good amendment for your business community in Fountain Valley. Thank you for your time.
Gary Smith.
Hi. Adding the number of units that you're looking to add, and given the wild winds that we've had in the past few weeks, and we've only got 2 fire companies within this community, how can they handle such a large structure fire with that many units? If there happens to be a structure fire there, how are they able to handle that kind of fire? And the embers going to the surrounding neighborhoods and catching those houses on fire due to the winds that are over there. Nothing against them. I mean, they do. I hear them all the time. I know they do a good job, but that's a lot of pressure on them. Plus, adding 1,100 more units to that area, that puts stress on the police. And right now, I mean, we don't even address the street racing that goes on with it, and nor do we have enough. We probably won't have enough of them to handle whatever situation happens over there. Never mind the 2 hospitals, the amount of people that we have coming into this community. Can they handle an event or anything of with that many casualties coming into the hospital, or just the extra load? Addressing traffic, we can barely get out of the complex as it is during any of the rush hours that happen in the morning or evening. Constantly have to wait, and you're going to wait a long time. I've seen what adding a few thousand units down in Mission Viejo and Laguna Niguel around Crown Valley, just to go across the freeway bridge, it takes a half hour. And that's a quarter mile. It's faster to go up to Oso Parkway and back and drive that long loop around there just to get through past that area. And having that many units in our community here is probably going to wind up doing the same thing, and people trying to get to the stores and businesses that are here, people trying to leave or go home. Not to mention the parking situation. You guys never mandate enough parking, that any builder that is building these complexes, that they have enough parking to go with all the units that go there. And you're lucky to have 1 space per unit. Most of these spaces, they have 2 to 3 cars per unit. And where is that going to go? We've already had a lot of our parking taken away. And we've had to spill over into the business parks and the surrounding community. And adding that many cars to that surrounding area, there's going to be 0 parking.
Gary, your time's up.
All right, thank you.
Cindy Hellowell. Cindy.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Cindy Hellowell, and I've lived in my house for 48 years. I am 6 houses from South Park, so I have an invested interest. We have been mandated to build 4,000 units, hopefully high density and affordable. 4,000 units, just addressing the cost of these individual units, I kind of Googled it today, and the average 70-year-old just getting into Social Security earns $2,000 change a month. The average high school graduate gets $26.47. Someone who's graduated from college in a STEM course fares fairly well. So pretty well, you can say any of these units that would be, let's say $4,000 a month or something like that, they are not going to have just one person. So what you're saying is 4,000 units are going to have at least 2 and probably 3 or more people in there. So where are the, let's say, 12,000 people in Fountain Valley looking to rent these places? More importantly, 6 weeks ago, we had an accident on the 405, which basically closed everything off. It took 45 minutes to get from Los Jardines East, across Slater, and to Harbor Boulevard. 45 minutes. Fortunately, my husband is texting me like I'm sitting here in a parking lot. Fortunately, I was going to beach. I had clear sailing. I turned around to come home and I'm in a parking lot. And that was an hour later. So the state no longer has any zoning for single family. That went bye-bye. The other thing that went bye-bye was parking regulations. So all of those cars, and we already have, my street and the street right across from me has a residents-only ordinance on it. Hopefully that stays. But where are they going to go? Each, like over here at the Silkies, they had 1.3 parking places per unit. What are you going to do with that 0.7 person who is driving? And don't tell me we're on a transportation corridor. If your job is in Gardena and your husband's job is, let's say, in San Clemente, and you choose to live in a nice place to live, you need a car. You're not taking city buses. So I want to know, are we prepared for an additional 14,000 people? What happened to the one on Harbor Boulevard that you were happily touting last year that would
Cindy,
have 10 stores?
your time is up. Cindy, your time is up.
Thank you.
Matt Holmes.
Yeah, my name is, Mayor, council members, my name is Matt Holmes. I live in the Green Valley tract. I've been there for 35 years. I've seen a lot of crazy traffic come through. I worked for the Fountain Valley School District for 10 years, and during that time I watched 10 schools close down in our neighborhood and get condensed and more portables crammed into this play space that these kids were supposed to have to be athletic and be healthy. And we keep condensing and condensing and condensing to the point where are you going to put, are we building more schools? Are we building more fire stations? Are we going to have more police? Are you going to take care of the neighbors that have been here for 35 years putting green arrows to get out of our neighborhoods that we've been fighting for the last 3 years since they did our great job on our freeway system here? We got totally jacked on that. We had traffic for years going down Talbert and Slater, and everybody found out how great Talbert and Slater was as a thoroughfare, and they use it more than the freeway now because that's a joke. We didn't gain anything. We lost in Fountain Valley. And I don't see anything where the city's doing anything to put schools together. Where are these people going? I don't get it. We can't even keep our traffic flowing now, and you want to add all these places to this? It's just unresponsible to the people that live here and the businesses that are here. I don't get. I understand there's mandates, but we're cramming everything in one spot. It's like having your whole family move into your house. I mean, literally, would you want 20 people moving into your home? Because that's what it's like. It just keeps getting crammed and crammed and crammed to the point where we're not going to be able to move anymore. And the best place to live is going to be the best place to move out of. And that's going to be really sad because I love this town. And I see it going downhill. And it really sucks. It really sucks. I hope you do something right for the people and the businesses that actually spend their money here and do something that we've been doing for you guys. Please give back to us and not these people that come in and have the billions to spend. Please.
Gregory Johns.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. I have the same concerns as a lot of the other people, especially on that east track. The school district now is already filled, I believe. There's a school there, Cox, that would be the closest elementary school to that, currently enrolled about 600 plus students. If you're talking about 1,000 homes coming over into that area, how many students are going to come into that middle school? How many students are going to come into the elementary? How many students are going to come into the middle school? How many more students are we going to get in the high schools? Are standards going to drop because of this? So now we're going to have lower standards at our schools. Also with the police and fire, are we building up the infrastructure to be able to support these thousands of new homes in one small tract area? I'd love you all to consider looking at what other options are out there, opening up to see what might be there, to how we keep our city safe, how we keep our citizens protected, and how we keep our students educated. Thank you.
Gary Godshaw.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm a resident of Green Valley for 50 years and very happy to have moved into the location, very happy to be here. I see a lot of changes taking place and I'm concerned about the densification. As I've researched a little bit, see that when property areas become more dense, higher population, crime goes up. And so that's one of the things I'm very concerned about. One of my main concerns beyond that is the types of units that are going to be built. And I understand from what I've heard this evening that the city needs to make movement on this. Otherwise, they get fined on a regular basis and it backs up creating several more problems. So I understand. I also appreciate the amount of work that has gone in with the planning and looking at all the different dynamics with the planning in terms of congestion and so on. The area that I did not see addressed is how this affects family units. We see more and more people living as singles or couples, but fewer children. Matter of fact, in terms of population growth, in order for a society to continue its movement forward, you need to have a birth rate around 2.6%. What we're seeing currently is that it's around 1.6%. So that means that we're decreasing our population over time, and the only way that we'll increase is through immigration, which is one way to solve it. But it's not creating an environment for us to nurture families. And that's the main thing that I'm concerned about. What are we doing to nurture families? Not only that, but most of the apartments and buildings and houses that are being built now may be multi-story, may be more like hotels, if you will, glorified hotels, and there is no backyard or front yard for the kids. Where are we going to help the kids grow in a healthy way? So my concern is, let's take a look at that. I understand that that's something that's going to be looked at later on after the zoning laws get passed, but that is a very top concern of mine, safety and opportunities for kids. Thank you.
I have no further requests to speak.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. City Clerk, for calling all the residents for their input. As of right now, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open discussions and comments from my fellow council member. Who wants to start first? All right, Council Member Hopper.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for coming out and expressing your comments and concerns at the meeting. Really appreciate you all coming out, and we understand your concerns and certainly appreciate them. One of the things that came up is about new projects, parking, traffic, how does that all work? So I'd like to invite Omar up, and can you sort of explain what happens? Let's say that this ordinance went through and there was a project that was being proposed in Los Cab. What sort of considerations would be given to traffic, parking, and the like? And
Yes.
other uses that are there already. The gentleman mentioned he has a business there.
Yeah.
How do we take that into consideration when a project's being proposed?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So I think, and I met with Mr. Henshaw between the Planning Commission meeting and today, and had an in-depth conversation with him. I think part of the underlying assumption that is being made as well is that the club stays and that residential is going in the parking area. That's one opportunity.
Can you put that slide up maybe so that that can be up when you're talking about it?
I went too far. Now it's going to go. I lost control, Rick. There we go.
Okay, so so you're referring to areas A, C, and K, which are in consideration for this ordinance? Right?
Yeah, so we would be, this action would allow new residential as an opportunity in that area. The existing businesses and residences would, with any new development, would retain their ability to access their businesses and homes. So so part of Area K, our access points, those would remain in place. We could not legally eliminate any access to and from businesses and homes. So those would remain in place. Any parking that those homes and offices and businesses have access to, or that have rights to, so if they have a certain amount of parking spaces dedicated for their developments, then those would remain in place as well. Any new development that would be proposed for the Los Cab area, the sports club in particular, I think is what we're referring to. And just so you know, so we had conversations, just kind of with all the property owners. With Los Cab, they're looking at the area. They're not really, there's no application. They're considering things. But they haven't made a decision yet. So we'll see if this passes, if they come in with an application. But what would happen is if they remove the club, then that eliminates the parking issues they're having there now, which have been discussed. So when they have those pickleball tournaments and those other events that happen, that issue goes away. The new development comes in. If it does, with so many units, that needs to self-park and maintain access and parking that's dedicated for the existing uses there, if there's agreements in place. If part of the club stays, which is what the assumption Mr. Henshaw has, then the existing part of the remaining part of the club would need to meet its parking demand. Any new units proposed would need to meet their parking demand, and parking and access would still remain for the existing businesses and residents.
Thank you. And with regards to traffic, for example, this Los Cab has basically one way in and out, I guess. Is there, would that remain in any new developments, or would there be an opportunity for additional access points and stuff like that?
Sure. Part of what's been discussed is the ability to punch through to Warner, if that's that's an option on the table. So to service that area, to access that area, that's one option that might be available, is for them to go out onto to create a new access point.
Okay, thank you. And then with regards to just any development in general, one of the items mentioned with SB 35, which I believe has been in existence for a long time, but how would that apply, if at all, to these developments?
So there are provisions if the city, we only have the requirement to rezone. We don't have to build. If nothing's being built, which is not the case here. We have a number of units that are being proposed in other areas, not these 3 specific plan areas. If you fall behind, then part of SB 3 is triggered, SB 35 is triggered, and there is a provision, I believe, for by right housing as well. The reason you don't see anybody taking advantage of that is because the developer has to pay prevailing wage, and it substantially increases their cost. And so I'm not aware of any SB 35 projects that have been built because of the prevailing wage issue.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me see if I have any other questions for you. And then in the, so I guess my point is, just because we would rezone these items for a number of units doesn't mean a certain project would be approved and built just because they submit it, right? It goes through plan review. We got to make sure that they have the necessary parking, the traffic, all the other components, right?
Correct. I would just say that as our city attorney mentioned, the city did push back on these numbers. Nobody except for, I guess, a few people in Sacramento believe they're a realistic number. Even developers have indicated that the community just can't absorb that number of units. So it's not a real possibility. We have to rezone and meet the requirements. And we will see some developments, applications come in as we've seen. But that number of units just can't be absorbed, is what the development community is telling us. So you can't have that many number of units with people coming in and renting, because it takes some time to build it. And then also, if you have so many units, you only get so much absorption. You rent out so many per month, and that takes a long time to do. And right now, interest rates aren't in developers' favor, and so that's why you're not seeing much development as well.
Yeah, I think one, interesting illustration of that is the crossings area, because that was rezoned in 2016, 2018?
I think it's 2017, 2018, something like that.
So that was, 2017, and at the time there was, there were stories about, fears that the bulldozers were going to come in the next day and start demolishing the crossings, and here we are 7 years later, nothing's happened. So whatever happens, I think will take some time, and during that time, as new projects get built, whatever they are, we will make sure that they are going to be able to be integrated into our city. And it's Michael. I mean, I certainly plan to stay here for a while, and I want any new developments to contribute to the community of our city. We want to preserve that as much as possible. And while I know that change is scary, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, California is a very desirable place to live. So is Fountain Valley, and people are going to move here, and we need to be able to grow responsibly and smartly. So although I appreciate all the people here and your concerns, I think that this is, this rezoning is the appropriate thing to do at this time. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Harper. Councilor Grandis, do you have any comments you would like to make?
Yeah, so first off, I think everybody needs to understand that I don't think any council member up here wants to build 4,839 units. None of us do. Unfortunately, it's a mandate from the state, and the requirements of builder's remedy and all the things that we went through explain why we have to at least zone for it.
At this time, please no comment from the public, so our council member can have a full thought on his point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing for, I think, everybody to understand, I think there's been a little bit of a whirlwind caused by some social media posts, et cetera, is we already unanimously, 5-0, all 5, have approved the housing plan already. It's already approved. This is just implementing the last step. Maybe, Omar, you can touch on that, on what we have already unanimously approved, and this just putting it into code.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the housing element in general.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So,
Please allow our public director to respond to a council member, and then we'll get back to you.
So again, so that through that multi-year process of updating the housing element and general plan, it was a community-wide process. We engaged in multiple meetings with the entire community because we wanted feedback, and that's how we got to these properties that are within the housing element. Let me go back to that if I can.
And just so people understand, we're talking about the GPAC, right? The General Plan Advisory Committee.
The GPAC, sorry, go ahead.
That we went on and we had 8 public hearings on?
Plus.
Plus?
Yeah. And we had other meetings in the community, we went out to events. So there was a large amount of outreach for this process. What we did in the housing element was commit to these properties to meet the housing element requirements. It was a negotiation with HCD because in the past, cities would throw out properties and there was no way they would be redeveloped within that 8-year cycle. And so HCD looks very closely at each property. They look at what's there, what the potential is for anything happening on that property. Then they have to agree to it, and then we have to agree to a number of units that we think is suitable for that area. And so that's an extensive process. We developed our list with the community as a whole, which including Los Cab and South Park and Crossings. We had those negotiations with HCD. We came back to the community. We would change and have an iterative process. And that's the list that we came up with, and the number of units and the density and the rezoning, potential rezoning.
Was this done behind closed doors?
No, it was all in a very public. We had multiple meetings, dozens of meetings regarding this process.
Didn't we also have a live televised event at the senior center with public hearing where we had hundreds of people attend?
Yes, sir.
Where every one of the issues that were brought up tonight have been brought up at least in 8 different meetings that I can think of, maybe more.
Yes, sir. There were in-person meetings. Everything was on Zoom and other opportunities for participating. So we committed to this as a community and adopted a housing element. Now what you're seeing is a process by which we're implementing what we committed to. So we committed to rezoning these properties for these number of units, and now we come with that implementation item, which is to change the zoning to conform with the general plan. If you have a general plan that says one thing and the zoning code that says something else, you're considered non-conformance, and you open yourself up again to legal liability because the general plan and zoning code have to be in conformance. And so right now, you have a housing element that states that this is what you're going to do. You need to have a zoning code that conforms to that. So we have until February 12th to conform to our adopted housing element and general plan.
So what happens if we vote no tonight?
So what realistically now would happen is if we don't meet that February 12th deadline, if we don't meet our RENA obligation, rezone appropriately, you're going to have a decertified housing element. When you have a decertified housing element, those items that we mentioned will occur. The first thing will probably be the loss of grant funding. And more immediately, maybe even is you'll have applicants applying for builder's remedy. So what would happen is, say you don't do the rezones, you decertify your housing element, or the HCD decertifies your housing element. If somebody wants to go in and develop Los Cab, they can do that, and they can put more units in there because you don't have a certified housing element.
Could they put a 20-story building there?
They could do certain things, and there's limits, but there's pretty much they can go higher and bigger and more units because it throws your zoning out the window.
So even though we don't like this, this was the best local control where we could try to put in, get all the information. The other question that somebody asked, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping a little bit around on you, was why not just take a shopping center on Brookhurst and just say, you know what, we're going to put 500 units or 1,000 units or 5,000 units on there. So why can't we do that?
There's one reason why you can't, there's another reason why you probably wouldn't, but the reason you can't just do that is because HCD is going to look at the likelihood of that shopping center redeveloping over a certain amount of time. And so we did take at least one shopping center on Harbor and say that's a potential. HCD said, okay, that's fine, it's underutilized, we think that's appropriate. But for example, the shopping centers, we're fortunate, shopping centers on Brookhurst are doing really well, they're thriving. And so those aren't likely redevelopment properties. You also don't want to lose your...
I'm sorry, didn't we have to get a letter from the property owner to say that there is some interest of building residential or it wouldn't count?
Yes, sir. The HCD likes to see indication that there is possibility of that property redeveloping over that 8-year time period.
Okay, so we can't just assign any shopping center. Believe me, we would have done that, just to answer some of the questions. What if a development goes in, say on the Sakioka property, there's, 100 units, big houses go in, 100 only instead of, how many did we assign, 1,100? I think it is. So what happens to that 1,000?
So if the property owner wants to redevelop that entire area with only 100 units, so 1,000 short, and there's no other developable capacity in the South Park area, as an example, what would then occur is nothing could be approved until the city council, goes and finds and rezones other properties to make up for that deficit. So there's it's called a no net loss provision, and you have to maintain zoning for the appropriate amount of land. And so if something comes in less than anticipated and there's no buffer, which is why you try to get a little bit above that 4839, then you have to go rezone other properties to make up for that difference.
Okay, so we can't, the risk that we face too is if somebody puts in a much less dense housing unit or builds a shopping center or a commercial building as opposed to housing, we then have to go back to the drawing board and reassign those houses somewhere else in the city, which means it would be even more dense in those areas.
Correct. And I'll just point out also that some of these properties have been on previous housing elements. And so in the fifth housing element cycle, we may have designated some of these properties, which we did, and they never redeveloped. And so we kept them on for this list as well. And so sometimes they just stay on the list, they don't redevelop, and that's fine. We did our job, which was to rezone, and we may use them next time too.
So we have been working on this quite candidly for 7 years. If we were to vote no tonight, it's like starting over. And we would be going through the whole thing. We'd have builder's remedy. We'd be paying fines. We wouldn't get our grants. So what somebody said out there, why are we here tonight? Why is the public here tonight? And I feel bad for the public coming out tonight and speaking their mind, because we all understand where you're coming from, and we don't disagree with you. It's unfortunate that there was some social media posting going on that was riling people up. I put out messaging that kind of tried to explain where we were, but unfortunately at this point it's like 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter. This is basically almost a formality to put forth the zoning that we've already agreed to unanimously. So it's unfortunate that I think a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but a lack of information. Transparency, true transparency is not just saying the numbers that are required, but why they're required and why we're doing that. And I tried doing that out on social media to explain to at least people. And you and I did a podcast together back in February that we put out on YouTube and the city website, and we, a lot of people saw it, and it kind of explains where we are today. So I feel everyone's frustration. I'm just, really the argument is made at a much higher level. The state is mandating this, and that's all I've got for right now.
Okay. Vice Mayor Canute, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, thank you, first of all, for the 9 speakers tonight, and many of you who also were thinking the same thing and maybe didn't come up and speak. I know you also probably spoke at Planning Commission, and we appreciate your concern I hope this was also educational. And the reason why I say that is because there's a few of us who dedicated 7 years of our lives to the General Plan Advisory Committee for free. And it was a long process because that's what we had to do. This job started it's a volunteer job that we started in 2018. We volunteered for this. Let me emphasize that. I'm talking about the General Plan Advisory Committee. And that was necessary because that's the way the rules are. Let's put that in contrast to the last, maybe the last single-family development that we might see of this kind of scale. So at the Fountain Valley School District had to close Moyola many years ago. Many of you remember that. It was 13 acres, and that was sold to a developer. The developer bought it, developed it into about 74 homes, single-family homes. They're beautiful homes. They're the kind of homes that probably a lot of you envision if your family ever wanted to move, or your kids or grandkids. It's the kind of house they want to be in, right? I don't think that's even possible today under the current conditions. And I did want to bring up, Omar, in light of today's rules, would it be possible for a 13-acre parcel in our city to go through that kind of ease of developing a single-family residential tract?
It becomes difficult with the number of units that we need to produce or to allow for, and the density that's required to get to some of these numbers. And so it becomes more difficult to meet those requirements. You know, some developments will come in with ownership units and multifamily. There's an application before us right now on an 18-acre site that has a mixture of both, and those are condos and townhomes. Myola, those are bigger lots with bigger yards and the typical single-family look. This would be more townhome and condos, but those would become more difficult to do even if you do ownership units, they need to be small lot subdivisions usually.
Yeah, so thank you. And so I just wanted to kind of put a point on the challenges with single-family residential development in today's climate, today's rules. So again, it's frustrating, and we understand that. I understand that. It's been a hard process, but like Councilmember Grandis mentioned, this is seconds left in the end of the game, and that's where we're at tonight. This is procedural in nature, and so that's the reality. So, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kanin, for your input. I want to ask Omar a few questions. You mentioned a loss of grant funding. What is it, and what's the dollar amount are you talking about? What grant are you talking about?
I'm not talking about any particular grant. We apply for grants all the time. I think we have a PSLH grant that we received a few $100,000 for every year. I know cities that have lost that grant because of this, because of not having a certified housing element. But really, they're tying state funding and grants to certified housing elements now.
Please allow him to respond so that all of us could hear his answer.
I think the question was, what is the PSLH grant fund? It pays for CityNet at the moment. So our homeless outreach is paid through that grant at the moment.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to give you some of my points on this. First of all, I want to thank you, the public, for coming out. Obviously, this is a matter that is the public interest, and you are the public, the resident of this city. Before I make a few comments, I want to ask our city attorney, to the point to our director, Omar Didaboy, mentioned that if we don't approve this tonight, he mentioned builder remedy. So would it be only more effective if we zone the area and we do not allow the property landowners not to build? Then as the developers will have more of an angle because we zone it and we don't allow them. But if we haven't zoned it, so the builder remedy will be less of effective per se. Am I correct on that?
You are correct.
All right. So to say that this is at the end stage, not really to respond to the public. So if we haven't zoned it, so it will be more of an obstacle for the builder to go after the builder remedy. So I want to make sure the public understand that. Second, to some of my colleagues mentioned that it is an unfunded mandate. So having said that, do we have an alternate solution to the mandate RENA requirement? In my view, I believe we do have an options. Why was not there brought up at that time? To be honest with you, at that time when was this presented to all of us, I was in my, second year or third year as a council member. So there's a lot of learning curve to learn. As today, I'm my 5th year, I think we have a solutions to fight back the state. But that is a future discussion. Okay? There's a solution to this. So I want to make a point on landowners. So we can't stop Los Cab or any landowner from developing, but we can ask them to address all of our resident concern, such as parking, access, and infrastructure. And if those concerns have been met, allow them to build, providing they address all our resident concern, which is fair. And frankly, I believe that every landowner should be allowed to build what they want on their land, providing they can mitigate all resident concern. So I've heard concern on resources, such as firefighters, police officers, traffics, and with a high number RENA requirement, those can be addressed. School matters, we have no say in it because that's regulated by the school district. High school, it's handled by the Huntington Beach Unified School District. So we have no say how to tell the school how they should, conduct their business. As a matter of fact, we have a former board of trustee, and he can confirm that with me that we have no say in it as a council member. Am I correct on that? All right. So this lead up to the next question. How do we regain local control? Well, I think there will be an opportunity in the future for discussion and education reference how we can put a brake on the state. That's my answer for tonight.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. So you're saying you didn't understand 3 years ago what you were voting on?
I wouldn't say that I did not understand 3 years ago I was voting on it. I think 3 years ago, not all information was really given to us as council member. It was only given to us to what we asked. But if we don't ask certain questions, certain information was not given to me. You may shake your head to disagree, but to my finding later that some, not saying this current staff, but to my prior predecessor, certain question I've asked, it was not fully given to me. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry you feel that way. The rest of us all received the information, and it's no different tonight than it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 7 years ago. So my question to you, Mayor, is we've been working on this for 7 years. This is 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter. We're down 21 points. We got the ball on their own 1 yard line. And we were told that if we don't do this by February 17th, 12th, by February 12th, we lose the housing element that we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in time, staff time, probably more, millions, effort putting this together. My question to you is, you've had 7 years to work on this. We've got a February 12th deadline. What's your plan?
Okay, so to say that I have 7 years to work on this, that's incorrect.
The city has.
Well, the city have, yes, but you say I have 7 years.
You've had 5.
Okay, so this is my 5th year. So my question is, I'm not saying that we shouldn't comply with the state because that could expose us to liability, possible liability, I should say. What I'm saying is, We'll go to the state and say, you want us to meet with this requirement? Fine, fund it. That will help what? That will help to increase our firefighters' resource. That would help increase our police officer resource. That would help us pay other things that may come down the road that we do not foresee. That's what I'm saying. And if the state is willing to fund it and we address all of our resident concern, by all means, we should move forward. But until the state fund this mandate, I think we should take a chance to fight it.
The state,
I mean, let's look at the implication of this, of the high density area. That's a come in 5 building story or 4. But is that the number of RENA to what the point one of the ladies says, 14 new resident? Well, 4,800, I'm just going to say 2. And that's very conservative. That's about 10,000 resident. Where are we going to get the money to fund the proper first responder to our resident, to keep the quality of life, to respond the fire department in time, to have the police officer address any safety in time? Who's going to fund that? Well, right now, we are fighting constantly at every labor negotiation because of a budget. Where are we going to get the fund? I'm saying the state, pay for it.
well, the way we get funding, maybe you need to understand how we get funding in our city, but we get funding from sales tax and we get funding from property tax. And both of those will increase as we put in more buildings. So, you know, let me ask our city attorney, or maybe Omar, either one of you, how many cities have sued the state over the RENA number and won?
I'm not aware, I don't know the number of cities that have sued the state. There are many that have sued the state. There are lawsuits now. Nobody's won regarding the RENA cycle. One of our neighboring cities fought it last time, and they ended up putting up a 600-unit complex in after they lost the lawsuit. So even in the process of creating the RENA numbers, the state, or the court said the cities had a point that the RENA was not calculated the way it should be as part of state law, but they still sided with HCD and with SCAG. And so we continue to lose these lawsuits. Cities have been getting together through the League of Cities and other avenues to fight back on these things, and we continue to lose in the courts and with the state.
And you put up a slide of the Builder's Remedy slide. How many cities had Builder's Remedy go in? What that means, to make sure everybody understands that, is they went to the state instead of the planning department to get approval. And they put in, you think this is bad, what we're proposing? If Builder's Remedy goes into place, we have no say. You're going to get somebody from Sacramento that's going to stamp a piece of paper, and you're going to, believe me, you're not going to be happy. We at least have some control. Again, none of us are happy about this. None of us want it. If the state didn't put in this mandate and shove it down our throats, we would not be here tonight because we would not approve this. There's no way. But you need to talk to your state legislators. You need to talk to your state senator. You need to talk to your assembly members. Those are the ones, that's where the decisions were made. Not at the, believe me, they didn't ask us what we wanted. They didn't ask any of you what you wanted. So again, we're just as frustrated as you guys are. We're trying to make the best of a really bad situation. And that's what we're trying to do with this. I don't foresee the Crossings project. There's 88 different landowners in the Crossings project. That's the industrial area off Euclid by the freeway. There is no freaking way that you're going to get 88 different people. Some of the owners don't even live in the country. There's no way that's going to be built out. I think you know, so some of the concerns, like Councilmember Harper said, it's been 7 years since that's been approved, and there's not even an inkling of movement there. So a lot of this is just making sure we get done what we have to do. Any projects that come before us, we're going to look at them and make sure that as best as possible they fit into the environment. I know one of the members said, a lot of people were saying it's so dense in one area. Part of the problem is that's where the land is, right? So, I mean, we can't put it where there's not the potential for it. Pretty soon, most cities are going to district elections. I would say you'd have a district election and you'd have a local representative, but you have a council member who lives next to the project, so you do have that today. I don't know if that's really going to help or not, but just understand, I know many people are angry and mad, and so are we. And it seems like we're just pushing it through. There was a question about developer donations. I have not received a developer donation from any developer. So, that kind of stuff that's being said, that's frustration speaking there. So, again, I think we are where we are, and it's not great, but we're trying to do the best we can with the parameters we're within.
Okay. Thank you so much, Councilmember Grenes, for your point. To the point that he made earlier, I think the builder remedy only comes in, as you heard from our city attorney, did confirm to my evaluations that it's the landowner will have a more of an effective basis of a complaint to city for builder remedies if we already zone it and we do not allow them to build. But if we haven't zoned it, I think it will give us some lead time on that.
And what about the other cities that have all the builder's remedy?
Well, I cannot respond to other city in reference to their builder remedies because I don't know if they're zoning or not. If they complete with that process or not, I don't know. So,
Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure I heard correctly. It's if we do not pass this ordinance, then the builder's remedy applies. If we do pass this ordinance, we keep a compliant housing element, we avoid the builder's remedy. Was what I thought I was answering, and I might have misheard, and I apologize if I did.
okay, no problem. Thank you for the clarifications. And my argument to this one, like I said, if we are able to bring the attention of the state to say, we're not saying that we're not compliant. We're just saying that we need more time. And if you want us to comply with the mandate, state, you need to pick up the bill. And that would be my argument for the state.
Why don't we ask, the county pick up the bill? Let's ask the president to pick up the bill. We can ask whoever we want to pick up the bill. They're not picking up the bill. I mean, let's be realistic here.
The argument on that is if one city is asking, it's very challenging. But if all the city unify under the same umbrella, it will be a different response from the state. Because if the state say, I'm going to take your city to court, we present a matter, the court is saying, what are they asking? They're just simply saying that it cannot be an unfunded mandate. You need to fund it. That will put a brake on the state to put a mandate on every city that's going to step forward and asking for the state to pay for it.
Crossing your fingers and hope is not a plan.
I'm not saying I'm crossing fingers.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that it's something that we should consider looking into and have discussion.
We've had 7 years to try. We've already fought them. We've already appealed, and we've already lost. And if we don't do this and we get sued by the state and we spend millions of dollars to defend ourselves, then we're talking about more budget cuts.
Okay. Well, I guess at this point,
May I make one more comment?
Okay, go ahead.
If I may. I think what you're seeing is a robust debate on a really tough situation. This is probably one of the biggest issues facing our city, I would say. And I just want to recognize that I think what I'm hearing from Mayor Bowie is it's really a call to action that this is what happens when we lose control locally. You're witnessing right now the squeeze of Sacramento on Fountain Valley, okay? And there's a
a tendency to want to fight, right? That's natural for us. And so that's really where we're at. We're trying to figure out right now whether that fight comes sooner or later. But what I would just like to propose right now is I will support you, Mayor Bowie, and anybody else who wants to take this to Sacramento straight on. I'm with you on that because I think that this is a clear example of why things are so bad when it comes to these kinds of rules, right? So I'm willing to join you, Mayor Bowie, on that.
I will join you as well.
All right. So as of tonight, before I make any more comment, Councilmember Harper, did you have any comment you would like to make?
No, but I would like to move the item for approval.
Okay.
I'll second. Mr. Mayor, I need to retitle.
Oh. On this matter?
Well, you brought up an added to the issue. If you're wanting to...
You could add that to the end, a non-general item at the end. Yeah, we have the opportunity for public comment earlier. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have a motions on the floor to approve and second by Councilmember Grandis.
Mr. Mayor, who made the motion?
I'm sorry?
Who made?
Oh,
Thank you.
Councilmember Harper. I'll go ahead and...
And this is for all three ordinances, correct? I'll read all three titles if that's okay. First is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fountain Valley approving Code Amendment number 25-01 to amend the crossing specific plan to allow for up to 1,100 residential units. The second is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fountain Valley approving Code Amendment number 25-02 to amend the South Park specific plan to allow for up to 1,100 residential units. The third is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fountain Valley approving Code Amendment 2503 to amend the Warner New Hope specific plan to allow for up to 676 residential units.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. City Attorney. I would like to make a substitution motions that we do not approve this first read as to give us a little bit more time to how to address this matter, not only to the state, but also give the opportunity for residents for further discussion.
Do you want to have a special meeting prior to February 12th?
February 12th.
That's the deadline.
They
They went over that already.
I understood. Let me ask you this question to our city attorney. Typically, although there's a deadline on February 12th, if the state was going to make any complaint to the city, what is their process and timeline? Reference to this.
Mr. Attorney, are we allowed to get text messages with questions up at the dais? Is that allowed without it being shared to the public and everybody else?
A text message about, it's a public record. It would be a public record. So whether it needs to be shared immediately, I don't know, but it is a public record.
Are you implying something?
You
look at it. I'm looking at my calendar.
Fine, you've been looking at it every time you read your question.
No, I'm looking at the calendar.
That's fine, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm looking at my calendar to see what February 12th is.
So the state has a lag time to take action, but that doesn't mean they can't take action retroactively. Once the 12th goes by and we don't have an ordinance, we run the risk of having a non-compliant housing element.
So having said that, then we really don't know when that they're going to formally file a complaint.
If I may just add some color to that, Mr. Mayor. So, as you know, an ordinance needs a first read, a second reading, and then it takes effect 30 days afterwards. So theoretically, you'd want that 30 days to end. So first read, second read, and 30 days ending to have the effective date before February 12th. In this case, the first read could happen tonight. The second read would happen February 4th. The 30 days wouldn't be come within that February 12th, but I think HCD would be comfortable with that. But that's why you're seeing it tonight, is because we want to make sure we get the second read before that February 12th deadline.
Okay, so, but if I have if the matter has been approved tonight and to not approve on the second read, I have to bring new facts as to why I'm not approving on the second reading. Am I correct?
No.
The rezones need to occur before February 12th. If they do not, then when we report out to state HCD, then they will say that we did not meet our deadline. And if we haven't done anything since, then they'll decertify our housing element. We haven't met our requirement. They've given us about a certain amount of time to do this. We've rezoned other properties. It comes down to these 3 properties. If we don't rezone, then we report out to HCD and then re-risk decertification.
Okay. Well, once again, I'll go ahead and stand by my, not to move with this approval at this time to give us an opportunity to fight the state reference to the mandate. Now, to answer the questions, would I call for a special meeting before February 12th?
And what do you hope to accomplish between now and February 12th? That you're going to go to the state and ask the governor for money in order to approve this?
Well, that's a very interesting question. As you know, for those who follow the inaugurations of a new president, I sit on the AQMD. There was some mandate that's been imposed on us, and he just revoked all that on the executive order. So who knows? If there's enough city in California saying the state should not mandate the city for local control, who knows what can happen? I don't know.
I don't disagree, and I'm hoping that it does change, and if it does, we'll change the zoning back.
Yeah, but once you approve the zoning, it's
Only if there's
it's much harder to move backward when you move forward already.
Yeah. All right, you made a second, or a substitute motion. Let's keep moving.
All right, let's call for...
Well, there's no second. So.
Oh, is there a second? Okay.
So we're back to the first motion to approve the item as presented. So the first and a second. First by Councilmember Harper, second by Councilmember Grandis. Item number 6 passes 3-1 with Councilmember Constantine abstaining.
Abstain. Okay. All right. All right, moving on to the next item, which is administrative items, item number 7. I want to get this, yes. Okay, I'll go ahead and call Carrie Hain, which is our Human Resource Director. Yeah, you did.
Do you want to wait for Kim?
You called her.
Did. She's coming in.
Okay.
You can come back now, yeah.
Oh, welcome back.
Good evening, Mayor Bowie and members of the council. I have the next 3 items, so please bear with me. They're all very similar, but we'll do one at a time. So the first one is adopt a resolution appointing Rodney Cox, interim chief of police, and approve a contract. The city is currently conducting active open recruitment to find a permanent replacement for the police chief role. The city manager has a desire to maintain continuity in the police department, and appointing an interim police chief is necessary to fill the critically needed position until a permanent replacement is appointed. The term of the agreement is effective as of January 6, 2025, and shall remain in effect for 1 year or until successful hiring of a permanent police chief, whichever occurs first. Approval by the city's governing body meets the legal requirements to appoint and approve a retired annuitant. Rodney Cox. Chief Cox is a United States Army Military Police Corps veteran. Began his career with City of Cypress Police Department as a police officer in 1990. Rod advanced through the department's ranks, serving in nearly every assignment and rank with the organization, culminating in his appointment as the 11th Chief of Police on July 31st, 2015. During his time as chief, Rod increased the efficiency and delivery of police services through a structural change in the rank system. He also managed the implementation of a multi-million-dollar technology program that was on time and under budget. Chief Cox holds a Bachelor's of Science degree from the California State University, Long Beach, and a Master's of Arts degree in Organizational Leadership from Brandman University. He's a graduate from the Sherman Block Supervisory Leadership Institute and the Police Executive Research Forum Senior Management Institute for Police. Chief Cox has a long history with the Golden West College Regional Criminal Justice Training Center. He's a proud graduate and has served this center in a variety of capacities, including Academy Coordinator, Semester Course Instructor, Executive Recruit Training Officer, and the Chair of the Golden West College Criminal Justice Training Center's Executive Advisory Committee. Fiscal impact. Funds allocated in the current fiscal year 24-25 budget includes sufficient funding. Salary budget for the fiscal year 24-25 for the full-time police chief position can be applied to the interim police chief until position is filled permanently. Alternatives for your consideration: adopt a resolution appointing Rodney Cox as interim police chief and approving a retired annuitant contract. Alternative number 2, do not approve a resolution and provide additional instruction. Staff's recommendation is requesting City Council approve alternative number 1. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, is there any public comment on this?
I have no request to speak on any scheduled matters.
Okay, any question from my colleague?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Okay, let's vote.
Item number 7 passes 5-0.
Oh, congratulations, Chief Rodney Cox, and thank you, Terry, for the presentation.
Maybe ask him to come up and speak.
And Chief Rod Cox is here in the room. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
I was in the back room there, and the rest of the department heads told me I better come in here because they wanted me to come up and speak. Just real quickly, look, I'm extremely honored to be here tonight and be part of this community and work with and for you as a city council, Mr. Mayor, and we have probably the best city manager in America too. I just voted her that. So what I'm finding is this community is a lot like the city of Cypress, where I grew up and spent 30 years of my career, and just an awesome community, awesome group of department heads I'm working with, and the police department here just does a phenomenal job. So they're like one big family. They care about this community, and I hope that I can carry on that legacy and work with this great department for as long as I'm needed, and you know, do what needs to be done to protect the community. So I appreciate the opportunity to come up here and speak. Thank you, and thank you for approving the contract. That'd have been a little weird if you didn't. So, thank you.
I have to say, I need to get him more of the Andy's Mint because that just...
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Chief. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to welcome back Carrie again. Long time no see.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
All right. Next is our fire chief. Adopt a resolution appointing William McQuaid, interim fire chief, and approve a contract. The city is conducting an active open recruitment to find a permanent replacement for the fire chief role. The city manager desires, again, to maintain continuity in the fire department, and appointing an interim fire chief is necessary to fill this critical position until a permanent replacement is appointed. The term of the agreement is effective as of January 1st, 2025, and shall remain in effect for 1 year or until the successful hiring of a permanent fire chief, whichever occurs first. Staff is requesting a 180-day wait period exclusion, finding the appointment necessary to fill the critically needed position of fire chief. Approval by the city's governing body meets the legal requirements to appoint and approve a retired annuitant. Chief McQuaid was hired by the city of Fountain Valley on April 8th, 1996, and held the title of fire chief for the last 2 years before his retirement on December 31st, 2024. Chief McQuaid has the necessary skills and experience to assist the department with critical functions and responsibilities during the vacancy. The appointment will not exceed 960 hours in a fiscal year and will be compensated at step 5 of the fire chief base salary range. While serving in a retired annuitant appointment, the interim appointment is not eligible for any other forms of pay, benefits, or leave accruals. Fiscal impact. Funds allocated in the current fiscal year 24-25 budget includes sufficient funding. Salary budgeted for fiscal year 24-25 for the full-time fire chief position can be applied to the interim fire chief position until the position is permanently filled. Alternative 1 for your consideration, adopt a resolution appointing William McQuaid as interim fire chief and approving a retired annuitant contract with a 180-day wait period exemption. Alternative 2 for your consideration, do not adopt a resolution, and provide staff additional recommendations. And our staff recommendation is requesting City Council approval of alternative number 1. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So actually, it's a statement for Chief McQuaid. Chief, thank you for not just riding off into the sunset and your willingness to stay on and help us here in the city of Fountain Valley. You've been a great fire chief. I've known you since you were in 8th grade. Believe it or not, that's a true story. And you're homegrown Fountain Valley at its best, and we really appreciate you. I just want to say that. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Granis, for your comments. All right, Mr. City Clerk, do we have any public comments on this one?
We have no requests to speak.
Okay, any comments from any council member? Nope.
I'd like to move item number 8, please.
Go ahead and second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right.
Item number 8 passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, looks like we can't have enough of you, HR Carrie. Once again, you're on
At
the...
least I put them all together
block.
one night. And I made it back just in time for all of these. I just flew back from Nashville like 2 days ago, so happy to be here and present these items. Next one, administrative item number 9, adopt a resolution authorizing the engagement of Michelle Ruditis as retired annuitant extra help, approve a 180-day wait period exemption, and approve a retired annuitant extra help agreement. The fire department has been succession planning with the deputy fire marshal. The city believes the deputy will obtain the requirements for the fire marshal position in 1 year. Ruditis has the necessary skills and experience to advise, mentor, and train the deputy fire marshal during this period. Engaging Michelle Ruditis as a retired annuitant extra help is necessary to advise the incoming fire marshal during the first year of transition and to prevent work stoppage or disruption in the city's fire department. Therefore, the city is requesting a 180-day wait period exemption as well. The city wants to engage Michelle Ruditis as a retired annuitant extra help. The agreement shall commence January 21st this evening and shall terminate no later than January 20th of 2026. The employment shall be limited to 960 hours per fiscal year, and approval by the governing body meets the legal requirements to appoint and approve a retired annuitant. Let's see. There we go. Michelle began her employment with the city of Fountain Valley September 1993 and years later returned to the city in March of 2015. Michelle retired as the city's fire marshal on December 31st, 2024. Michelle is well respected for her outstanding work in public education, fire prevention, and hazardous materials management. While serving as fire marshal, Michelle took proactive measures by partnering with Fountain Valley Community Foundation and formed the Fire Prep, Prevention, Responding, Education, and Preparing program to support the health and welfare of emergency responders and families within Fountain Valley. The appointment will not exceed 960 hours in a fiscal year and will be compensated at step 5 of the fire marshal base salary range. While serving as a retired annuitant extra help appointment, the appointment is not eligible for any other forms of pay, benefits, or leave accruals. Fiscal impact, the funds allocated in the current fiscal year 24-25 budget include sufficient funding. Alternative number 1 for your consideration, adopt a resolution engaging Michelle Roditis as a retired annuitant extra help and approve a 180-day wait period exemption and approving Michelle Roditis' retired annuitant extra help agreement. And alternative number 2, do not adopt a resolution or approve an agreement. And staff is recommending City Council approve alternative number 1. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
All right. Do you have any public comment, Mr. Clerk?
I have no request to speak.
All right. Any comments from our fellow council member? Hearing none?
Actually, Michelle is, she deserves accolades as well. Thank you. I don't see her here this evening, but I want to thank her as well for not just riding off into the sunset, but caring so much about our city and her willingness to stay on for another year to really help us transition. So thank you, Michelle.
That was great. That was a great comment from Councilman Granis, and I agree with him. All right.
I move to approve item number 9.
There you go. We do have a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right.
Item number 9 passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. City Clerk. All right.
Thank you
Next.
very much.
The next item will be presented by Mr. Tim Saike from Battalion Chief. My apology if I didn't pronounce that properly.
It's okay. Mayor Bowie, City Council, thank you for this opportunity to come before you to ask for authorization to purchase and replace our automatic chest compression devices, or otherwise known as ACCD. Just to let you know a little bit about these devices, they're mandated by the county health for us to have on our paramedic units. In the field, the best effective high-quality CPR is essential in helping people survive a cardiac arrest out of hospital. So what these automatic chest compression devices do is they improve CPR performance by helping eliminate human factors such as fatigue or distractions, minimize pauses in CPR, due to patient movement from the gurney or from the bedroom or the house to the gurney to the ambulance. They free up our personnel to perform other life-saving measures during that cardiac arrest, and they decrease the chances of injury to our personnel. So currently we do have these devices. The device we have is the Zoll AutoPulse. That was first introduced in 2003. It was since replaced by the next generation of the AutoPulse in 2023. We purchased the AutoPulses in May of 2019, and they're nearing the end of their 5-year service life. And starting in 2025, or April of this year, Zoll will no longer sell the parts needed, and they will no longer service the devices that we currently have. So hence why we're here to ask for a replacement. So we did a trial. There's 2 devices used in the county currently. It's the new Zoll AutoPulse and another device called the Lucas 3. We evaluated the AutoPulse NXT, which is the newer generation, in the station during an evaluation of the new monitors. And then we also did the same thing with the Lucas. In addition to the station demonstration, we did a field trial with the Lucas device for 30 days in the field. During that time, we had 9 cardiac arrests. 2 patients achieved ROSC, which is basically getting the heart back pumping, or also known as return of spontaneous circulation. So fire crews were asked to evaluate both devices using a survey, and the Lucas 3 device scored higher. So this is just a picture of both devices. The AutoPulse is the one that you see, the NXT, is very similar to the one we have now. I just want you to take note of that white band that's on top, and I'll talk about that in a second. The Lucas 3 is the one on the right. And it has more of a suction cup than a piston device. The AutoPulse kind of has a band that wraps around the patient's chest. So a financial analysis of both these devices. The overall, the Lucas 3 was the cheaper option, but what long-term cost of the Zoll product, the current product we have now in the new generation, is that band itself is disposable, and you don't reuse that on every call. So that cost, the last list price was $236 per cardiac arrest. The Lucas 3 device has that rubber suction cup that you saw in that picture. That costs $51, and that could be reused. We can clean it and reuse it. The white band, we cannot reuse that because of contamination. The overall cost, we did receive 2 quotes, one from Zoll, one from Lucas. The Zoll cost was $124,043.92, and the Lucas 3 was $110,626.66. The good news tonight is I'm not asking for additional money. We do have money in our capital replacement of $122,600. So no additional funding is being requested from you tonight. So we recommend, after the surveys and the field trials, staff is recommending that council approve the authorization to purchase 4 new Lucas devices, Lucas 3 devices, replacing our AutoPulse devices that need to be replaced, and with a 5-year warranty and included accessory equipment, and also a 5% contingency of $5,531 just to cover any unforeseen costs or price increases. Just to note that extra $5,000 will still keep us below that capital replacement amount that we have allocated already. So that's our recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, great. Do you have any speakers?
We have no requests to speak.
Okay. Anybody would like to say anything?
Yeah, but,
Okay,
question.
Councilmember Harper.
Can you go back to the slide that has the 2 different devices? Yeah. So I just get out of curiosity, how do you adjust it for larger or smaller people?
So the limitation of the device is the size of the board. So very large people, it's going to be difficult to use both of these devices on. The AutoPulse is limited about how much that device can wrap around the patient, and the same with the Lucas 3 device. So in those circumstances, we just have to go back to traditional CPR. This is a tool in our toolbox to use, and it's a very effective tool to help us have consistent CPR. But in the event that the patient is too large, or the situation is doesn't allow us to use those devices, then we won't use them. But we still have the basic CPR, which we're trained to do and perform during those situations.
And so do you program it for a certain, frequency and amount of pressure for each person? And that's, I know it can, if you do it too hard, it can injure the...
Yeah, so both devices actually sense the depth of the patient. So the AutoBand or the AutoPulse will adjust and kind of loosely snug around the patient and then start compressions. The Lucas device, you pull down to the patient's chest, and then it'll start the compressions. And it senses how high it's up, so it can adjust on how deep it will compress the chest.
Okay.
So they're designed to automatically. There's no adjusting. We set it, press a button, and it starts the CPR. And they're designed to adjust on the fly to the depth of compression for the patient.
All right, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Grannis?
Yeah, so a couple of questions. One is, these are $25,000 each, approximately?
Yes.
I'm looking at the picture. It doesn't, go back to the picture. It sure doesn't look like a $25,000 item. What do I know, though? I mean, you guys know this stuff. It sure doesn't look like it. But the other question is, is this looking to replace the firefighters doing the compressions? And in those cases of the 3 people, I think it was 3 that survived, would they had the same chance of a firefighter? I mean, I trust a person more.
So that very first slide I showed you, the most important thing for CPR is consistent, constant CPR, because you maintain a pressure. Basically, you're pumping the heart for itself, and you're maintaining that pressure in their body to circulate that blood as you're breathing for them and oxygenating that blood for the patient when their heart's not doing it for them. But any time you stop, even if it's for 10 seconds or whatever, like we'll stop sometimes to check a pulse, or we'll stop sometimes to check a heart rate. Those seconds count of decreasing that pressure and not allowing that oxygenated blood to circulate to the brain. So what these devices do for us is, yes, they replace someone from doing CPR, but they don't take place of everything else we do on that call. But having that constant pressure is critical to maintain oxygen to the blood or to the brain. Otherwise, the out-of-hospital survival rate of CPR in general is very, very low anyways. But this gives us a tool to buy that patient as much opportunity as we can to have them walk out of the hospital. So, like I said, doing CPR, even for 2 minutes, we switch out every 2 minutes, because to do high-quality CPR constantly is taxing on a person's body, let alone the transfer of the patient from the bed or where their floor or wherever they're at to the gurney. Those 10 seconds it takes for us to lift the patient on, this device is working the whole time. So yes, it replaces one person doing CPR, but I can tell you from personal experience, I've seen the AutoPulse work. These devices do work. They do help us improve our chances of out-of-hospital survival, and they're a critical tool in our toolbox to use. So I think I mean, number one, it's required by the county for us to have them on our rigs.
Well, okay, that answers the question.
Yeah, it's a required Orange County EMS piece of equipment for us to have, but they are critical in saving lives. I can speak from.
If it saves even one life, it's worth $100,000. That's for sure. I was going to ask this question, but I don't think it really matters. The firefighters and paramedics, are they in favor of this, or are they questioning this?
No. So yes, they are. We've used the AutoPulse for almost 5 years now, and it's just another part of our repertoire and our
Gotcha.
piece.
I'm good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
they're good.
Yeah, if you guys want it and that's going to save a lot, I'm good. I just was curious. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Grandis. Anybody else?
I move to approve item number 11. I mean, I'm
right.
sorry, number 10.
All right, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, let's vote.
Item number 10 passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to the last item for the night, which is the appointment. And Mr. City Clerk, can you go ahead and make your presentation as the process?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each of you have a manila folder up there, has a ballot in there for the Planning Commission. Tonight, we will only be voting for the Planning Commission seats at this time. There are 2 full-term seats and 1 alternate seat up for appointment this evening. What I would first like to do is have you vote only for the full term, so mark your choices of the 2 applicants you believe to be the best for the Planning Commission as full term, and after we get our full term applicants, then we'll come back with a new ballot just for the alternate.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the people that applied for the Planning Commission positions. We had 10 applicants. There's 3 positions, and it's great to have that many people apply. And it's also was very interesting. Each one of them had a unique experience, unique perspective about the city, but they all had in common they really care a lot about Fountain Valley and keeping it a great place to live. So I just want to say thanks to all the applicants, and good luck.
Yeah, I'd like to say that was probably the best pool of applicants we've ever had, at least in my years here. There were so many qualified. It's a tough decision.
All right.
You ready? Okay.
Just 2 votes for the full term, the 2 applicants for full term. Okay. Here's another set of ballots. There were, of the 10 applicants, there were 5 that received 2 votes each. So on this go-around, we will not vote for those that received 0 votes the first go-around. So we'll whittle this down from 10 applicants to 5 applicants. So only those that received votes. I will tell you who those people are. Rudy Hubner, Elizabeth Andrade, Kristen Azcona, Azam Saad, and Cheryl Brothers.
If the council could please make sure to sign your ballots.
So we vote only for these?
Correct. Rudy Hubner, Elizabeth Andrade, Kristen Azcona, Azam Saad, and Cheryl Brothers.
I told you we had a lot of good applicants.
Nothing changed. We'll go for this a third time. All 5 applicants each received 2 votes.
If we instead vote for the alternate first, would that be better?
Thank you. Well, I've got good news and I got bad news. We finally got one with a majority vote. So, with that being said, we will now remove one name as Cheryl Brothers has been appointed to the Planning Commission. So now, the next go-around for the other full-term seat, you're just voting for one for either Rudy Hubner, Elizabeth Andrade, Kristen Azcona, or Azam Saad. Thanks. Am I missing one? And we'll try it again.
It's got to be narrowed down. There's only 4 choices and 5 of us.
You had one applicant with 2 votes, the other 3 each received 1 vote.
Well, one applicant with 2 votes doesn't win.
It's not a majority vote.
Who has 2 votes?
I can.
I mean, I'd like to know if we can, I'd like to know, I mean, why would we?
How do we know what else to do?
Yeah, I mean, we're voting because we want these people. Why would we change?
Let's do one more round.
Okay.
On the paper.
I've got 2 more sets, so. Yeah, I know. Oh, my Lord. Okay. Thanks. We're getting closer. We're not there yet, but now we've removed one person, did not get a vote that last go-around. So now your choices are between Rudy Hubner, Elizabeth Andrade, and Azam Saad. Kristen Escona did not receive a vote in the 5th ballot.
I don't see how this is going to change. Removing the person's not going to change. There's someone change the vote.
Wait, if we remove someone, then,
No, because they got no votes last time.
oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. You have 2 applicants that have 2 votes and 1 applicant that has 1 vote. So you have a 2-2-1.
Keep the 2 twos, yes. Just without.
Make a decision between the 2 applicants that received 2 votes?
Yeah, because otherwise, unless we change, then.
Yeah,
if
then
we
we'll
don't
get a
come up with
winner
the same-
no matter what, because it has to be 3-2.
You're just gonna have to give me a minute because I've run out of ballots.
What happened?
I did not anticipate 7 rounds. Thank you. I'm trying.
So do we have a date for the other interviews? Is it going to be Monday? Right. Starting at 4. Okay. Perfect. Great, thanks.
Monday the 27th at 4?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I didn't know if it was for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The rest of the interviews, Community Foundation, HCD, persons with HH too, yeah.
can't remember this ever happening.
All right, now removing the person who received one vote in the last go-around, your choice for the second full-term seat of Planning Commission is between Rudy Hubner and Azam Saad. And finally, by a 3-2 vote, Rudy Hubner has been appointed to the second Planning Commission seat for the full term. Now we move on to the alternate.
I'm too tired.
So for the alternate seat, all applicants are considered except for Rudy Hubner and Cheryl Brothers.
You want me to fill it out for you?
Keeping with tradition, we'll do this a second time. But there was only 3 applicants who received votes, so you will only consider Elizabeth Andrade, Kristen Azcona, and Azam Saad. Okay, well, we got through that a little bit quicker. By a 3-2 vote, Kristen Azcona will serve as the alternate for the Planning Commission for 2025. And that concludes this
All right.
voting.
Thank you so much, Mr. City Clerk. And thank you for the public for being patiently go through this process. Once again, congratulations to Cheryl Brothers and Rudy Hubner on your appointment. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our next items. Let's go back. And do we have any members? I'm sorry, no, that's not it. Okay, do we have any item for future considerations? Where's the public comment?
The public comments is after items for future consideration.
Yeah. I'm looking at this note. I'm not sure which one you. All right. Do we have any items for future considerations for any members?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, Councilman Grandis.
It's for campaign finance reform. So right now, you can basically raise funds for an upcoming election at any point. I saw that some cities are making it that you could only fundraise in the year of the election. So if it's a November 2026 election, you can't start fundraising for that until January of 2026.
I'm not hearing any. Second?
Personally, I don't do that, but I do keep my campaign account open. I've had it open since 2014.
It's not a campaign
No, I
account
get
being
that.
open. It's
Yeah, no, I get
actually
that.
fundraising and collecting money for an election. Because what happens is somebody can have an event in, let's say, 2025
Mm-hmm.
and raise $100,000, I'm just exaggerating. In January 2026, it's zeros on all of the reporting, goes back to zero. And then if you fundraise, say, 10,000 in 2026, that's what it looks like. You've only fundraised 10,000. It's very misleading. And I've seen a lot of cities have switched to, you can, many do it 6 months beforehand. I would say we could do it the year of.
But you have to file your reports, you know, whether it's an election year or not an election year, you still have constant reporting. no
Right,
matter
but your
what.
460 zeros out at January of the new year. So if you raised money in 2020.
Oh, I see your point.
So in 2026, your 460 in June, if you did nothing, will show zero.
I see. Yeah, I still don't like it though, but I see it.
Okay.
In a second.
I don't hear for a second.
I like it.
All right. We're going to move on.
All
right. I have one. This is for, I'll make a little statement before I'm asking for a second. So Americans are probably among the most forgiving and generous people in the world, always extending kindness and support, no matter one's background or economic standing. In honor of this remarkable spirit, I propose TNT Day, a day of no tax every year, the Tuesday following Cyber Monday. This special day will be a heartfelt gesture to thank the American people, particularly to our Fountain Valley resident, for their unwavering generosity, for the way they give and care without hesitation. After the busy season of Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday, TNT Day would be a chance to pause, reflect, and give back, offering a small TNT Day, but meaningful way to honor the incredible resilience and kindness residents that define this community. So I'm asking for a second.
Mayor Bowie, there is no way, I mean, I want to be really respectful here. I appreciate your kindness and thoughts, but from a practical business level of the city, there's no way that this could ever be implemented.
Okay, I think at this point it's
We're
not
not in a
about
city of
discussions.
Oz.
It's just requesting for a second. Do I have a second so
But
we
it's
can
not
have a
even
second?
feasible. Yeah.
Of course, there's discussion. How would you implement this?
There's way. First, we have to have a second. Then we can go into the study.
Well,
then
I
for a
need to
second before.
understand what you're trying to say before we could give a second, because I don't think you understand the tax code that a majority of the sales tax that's collected does not come to the city. It goes to the county.
The reference to the tax that we have was, first of all, we have a Measure HH, which is 1% sales tax.
Right.
Addition to the top. So we could start with that. And as we go through it, we're going to go to the others. We start with the 1%.
And how would you inform all of the residents and the business owners that they have to collect a different tax on one day of the year?
So well, let me ask you this. Procedural-wise, Mr. Attorney, correct me, are we allowed to go into further discussion on this? Or this is request for a second so we do a study session whether it's feasible or not?
So the discussion is limited to whether to add it to a future agenda. But the discussion about whether to add something to a future agenda doesn't have to be agendized. From what is happening so far has been a discussion about whether to add it to a future agenda. If we get past that into, okay, let's add it, I support this, I don't support this, but just from what I've heard so far, the discussion has been appropriate.
Okay. So to go into the details, like I say, I think that it should be going to a study session whether we could do it or not. And I think that's what I'm looking for right at this point.
I'm concerned about our staff's time, it could never happen, I'll tell you just that.
Okay.
Yeah, I will second it. I think I think the sentiment is good. I think there I think that implementation may be impossible, but I think I don't mind looking into it and see if we can do it. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Or you could have just talked to the finance director and tried to get information first before bringing it here.
To answer to your sentiment on that, actually, I have talked to them already, but to go any further, I need to have a second from council. Thank you.
Waste of time.
All right. Moving along to the next item. Do we have any speaker for Successor Agency Housing Authority public comments?
We have 4 requests to speak.
Okay.
First is Eugene Murray.
And Mr. Mayor, I know that following the discussion earlier, there was a comment by a member of the public, Katie, sorry, who informed that a speaker card could be dropped off for unscheduled matters, and that person could comment on the scheduled matter we had. We do have a council parliamentary procedures policy that says that persons commenting during public comment unagendized matters shall limit his or her comments to unagendized matters. It's not supposed to be a reopened public hearing after a public hearing is closed. So if the speakers could please try to limit their comments to unagendized matters, that would be the best way to follow the city policy.
What you witnessed in the meeting, that's not agendized. If you have an opinion about how the meeting went.
Hi, I'm Eugene Murray. I'm the founder for the Performing Fountain Valley Forum on Facebook. I'm probably that social media group that has a lot of dissent. As a veteran and also as a scientist, I worked on the space shuttle operation to work on after the Challenger crash, to bring back and reorganize NASA. So I worked on that for 6 years. The problem I have, and I want to talk to Ted about this a little bit, is I understand about the affordable housing thing, and I understand the legalities of it because I've been to law school. But I do not accept the idea that this is mandatory or we have to settle for this. And Ted brought up an idea, and I would give you 2 suggestions. One is we should try to find out some way to delay this because of the political climate is changing quite a bit. The issue we've had here in the presidency was we've had a very distinct political atmosphere that was highly socialistic and has been kind of radicalized in the last 4 or 5 years. And people, I guess, are finally tired of that. And this state is suffering worse than anybody else. And we finally had a shift from blue to red in this state, and we probably see a bigger shift. So there's going to be bigger things at the state level. And I always, as a innovator, do not accept mandatory things by the state. It rubs me wrong. I don't care what you say, and I don't like it as a citizen. But I agree with Glenn. We do have a legal problem, but I think the thing is we should not close the discussion. We should open it. That's part of the reason I provide the forum, is people can talk more than 3 minutes. So I would just like to give you notice that I'm giving you support on that. I just have one problem. When I looked at this stuff back in 2022 when I ran for city council, I looked up the numbers because I'm an automation guy. I've been in automation 50 years. That was my job at NASA, putting in computer systems. But I went to look at where does this number come? Because all of a sudden in 2022, I believe, it went from 2,400 to 4,800. But when I went and looked at the numbers from the state, one of the things I could not decipher was part of that number based on illegal immigrants. And I still have not been able to get an answer out of that. So this is one thing that should be looked at, because if it's illegal immigrants, then it's a bogus number, and it's a misrepresentation of the fact, which creates a legal argument. And the other one is, like I said, we should delay somehow because of the current political party of this kind of dominating the state.
Eugene, your time's up.
Appears to be going away. Thank you for your time.
Katie Wright.
Greeting mayors, and I'll say that because one is a pending mayor and everyone else up there is a mayor. I comment about the meeting I just witnessed. There are some things that I'm not going to walk away not having said. Oftentimes, it reaches the point where the open discussion is closed out and we can't say anything more from the audience, peanut gallery. I get that. But you had a lot of very upset people. And I want to comment. Someone made a comment about social media getting people riled up. Exact words. Yeah, it's supposed to. I'm not saying go to your, flavor of the month social media outlet, but the fact that there is important information shared. And someone tried to indicate that it was misleading, and frankly, no. It may not be what you would have wanted distributed. But we don't have newspapers anymore. I bemoan that fact. Actually attended your interviews for the Planning Commission. Everyone did a great job. The interview went well. I will point out, as you well know, one of the contestants and one of the public people watching, because there were two of us, commented, yeah, you need to notice the whole city. You need to send postcards out to the whole city on these events, not just 1,000 feet. I remember this last year you went from 500 feet to 1,000, which again, kudos, but that didn't just automatically happen. Y'all didn't just say, oh, maybe we should tell more people. You brag about transparency, it's not really there. I witnessed the most amazing display of pandering, turning to another mayor. There was the most incredible event. Someone noticed how upset the people were, and I just thought it was the most amazing theater I'd seen in a long time. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this person who's not in their first term, but their second term, says, well, I didn't really know all this, or I didn't know all that at the time. And you said, we've been working on this for 7 years. And the person said, well, I haven't been here 7 years. I've been here 5 years. There was a sense of distrust for that person's use of a device. I could talk about that. Time's running out. You didn't fool anybody. That was a display. That was pandering. That was pandering to the audience to try and get an effect. You pulled something out of your hat. If I say something, it's like people assume they know where I heard it from. I've heard from people on various committees, hospital boards, various other groups, Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis. I've heard it joked about that a certain member up here doesn't read the agenda and shows up late all the time. Just want to say, you're not fooling anybody. Not going to name names. I think people can figure it out.
Stephen Schwartz.
Councilman, Councilwoman, and Mayor, let me get back to maybe what you're supposed to be doing here. I have 3 items, real quick. Number 1, be nice if this were in front of some of your suggestions for future meetings, because there might be suggestions here that you could do. So just a quick comment. Number 2, love recycling, very confusing in the city. Our residents put their food and their green in the green containers. Our businesses are not allowed to put their green in the green containers, only their food. I know, you're all going, oh, really? So I hope somebody will take a look at that. It's very confusing. The only reason I know that is because I live here and I go to church here and I worry about our trash at the church. And so we've had to change everything. It's very confusing to explain to people that live here. And the third, and you've heard me talk about this, and I'll talk about it again, and probably again and again. Parking needs to be considered citywide. It's a problem whether we have to do these mandates or not. It's all over the place. We're going to have a problem when the building gets built here in this corner, because there's already problems in this area. We have to figure something out, and we need to do it now. We understood our financial problem, and we got a sales tax on HH, and we took care of it before other cities. I think parking, we can do that also. So I'm hoping at some point in your strategic meetings, maybe you put this as a priority or have a study session about parking citywide. Maybe listen to the residents in different areas, because I'm sure they have different problems. I live in Green Valley, and we have problems just from the apartments. And I know now you've zoned more houses, and that's where some of the concern comes. The city's done a lot of things, and I appreciate it. You know, they put red zones to try to keep the corners clear in the residential areas. But it's things like that that I wish we had a parking plan for. Thank you.
Richard, I can't read your last name.
You can't pronounce it?
I can't read it.
My name is Richard, the last name's Filikowski. And I'm not Polish, I'm Russian. And I know Gene because we go to church together, we sing together, and we do it a lot. That's besides the point. I live a couple of doors down from Mr. Schwartz. But what I want to talk about is I've lived in Fountain Valley for a long time. I think, about 51 years. And I guess Steve's lived here about that long too anyway. And the area that I live in, I'm very concerned because, Jim, you mentioned the quality of life, and I want to address that. On the corner of Euclid and Slater, there's been some terrific automobile accidents. I had an occasion to see 3 of them. My most recent one was I was driving north on, and I think the police are here, maybe they can confirm this. I was driving north on Euclid not too long ago because I come up north on Euclid and make a left on Slater to get to my house. And there was a terrific accident right there again, another one. Okay, that's one thing. My other concern is the fact that at Cox School, there seems to be a congestion of traffic that makes it almost impossible for me to get out of my house to the corner of Euclid and Slater so I can go south to get to the freeway. It's the way I get to the freeway. It's at school time. Most of the kids that are going to the school don't even live in the area. It seems like there's 1.5 cars for every child. So here's my reasoning. If you're going to put 1,100 new residences on that field over there on Euclid Street and Slater, it's going to increase traffic, accidents, more kids going to school, more congestion. Okay, bottom line, my wife is having a health problem. Okay, I go to the doctors 4 times a week. I went this morning. I'm going tomorrow morning. We're going for cancer surgery on Thursday afternoon. Okay, with that congestion at Cox School, how's the paramedics going to get in to save her someday? My mother-in-law died at night, so the paramedics were there, wham, instantly. I don't know where they came from. Less than 4 minutes, I think. And they were able to get her to Fountain Valley Hospital, but she died anyway.
Richard, I'm sorry, your time's up. I have no further requests to speak.
All right, thank you. Unfortunately, we can't make any comment because that's unscheduled matter only. All right, we're going to move to the next items. Do we have, I want to start with Councilmember Harper for Housing Authority ABC 123.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On December 19th, attended Joanne Minnie retirement at City Hall. And on January 6th, attended Welcome for Chief Cox. On January 8th, Janet Nguyen swearing-in ceremony at Freedom Hall. It was a really well-attended event, and that's over on Miles Square. January 9th, the OCTA Transit Committee meeting. January 13th, the OCTA Board meeting, and at that meeting, one of our residents, Tam Nguyen, it was chair of the OCTA Board for the last year, and so we thank him for his service, and he's doesn't have to be the chair anymore for this year. So he did a great job. January 15th, interviews to the Planning Commission. January 16th, the Mayor's Breakfast. And I just want to say thank you. We haven't really talked about it, but there's the fires up in LA and Altadena, really tragic events that happened last week. It seems like longer, but it's only been a week. And our Fountain Valley Fire Department sent 2 companies of firefighters to come out there and help with the fire, and really appreciate their dedication and service to our neighbors to the north. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Harper, for your report. I'll go ahead and start with my other side. Councilmember Constantine, please.
Sure. So recently, these are just a few of what I've attended. The Orange County Board of Supervisors meetings, actually watch those on the county's website. Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control Board meetings. We had the Planning Commission interviews recently. Had our swearing in of our interim police chief, Rod Cox. And then the every 2-year AB 1234 and AB 1661 certification for council members. But what I want to highlight is coming up on Monday, and since I was not here earlier, I just want to highlight this coming Monday, January 27th, here, not in this room, but one of our conference rooms, City Council, we're going to interview the applicants that the city has already received, so that period is closed, but it'll be the Housing and Community Development applicants, Fountain Valley Community Foundation, Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities, and Measure HH, and those are open to the public. It'll be this coming Monday, January 27th at 4 p.m., and the public is welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Constantine, for your report. Vice Mayor Kanin, would you give your report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. My activities since our last meeting included the following. On December 18th, I met with Emily Rindle of Memorial Care, together with Councilman Grandis and City Manager Lee, to discuss the specific plans for the proposed 4-story parking structure currently in planning and design. This will be located southwest of the intersection of Talbot Avenue and Foster Street and will greatly improve pedestrian safety there. On December 19th, I attended the celebration of service for outgoing Fountain Valley School District President Steve Schultz, followed by his swearing in for another term after his successful reelection. It was also very nice to see the swearing in and seating of newly elected trustee Ashley Ramirez, who succeeds now retired trustee and past president Jeannie Galindo. Congratulations to our district neighbors to the northwest for all of their tremendous work and what staff does for the betterment of our students. On December 8th, I also attended the oath of office ceremony for Supervisor Janet Nguyen, together with most of my council colleagues and city staff. It was great to celebrate this moment at Freedom Hall at Miles Square Park here in Fountain Valley with so many local leaders and law enforcement. I look forward to working with Supervisor Nguyen on many important issues facing our city and county. This morning, I presided over our Most Improved Student Awards presented by our Fountain Valley Rotary Club, where we presented certificates, one certificate of recognition to Juan Marquez Concalves, and he is a student at Valley Vista High School. It's really heartwarming to see parents, siblings, teachers, and site principal Stacy Robinson celebrating his grit, overcoming struggles, and all the amazing achievements that he did. Our next Most Improved Student event will be on Tuesday, February 18th at our usual meeting place at Founders Village in the Senior Center. And at noon today, I attended the quarterly meeting of the OCTA Citizens Advisory Committee, which I vice chair. We received updates on initiatives and projects there at OCTA, including the M2 Next 10 Delivery Plan, 2028 Olympics, and Orange County OCTA's involvement, A really interesting discussion on e-bike safe practices, because there is actually a planning process and a document coming from OCTA, Government Affairs, and appreciate the work there. And thank you to Director and Councilmember Harper for entrusting me to serve on that commission. And that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Cunneen, for your report. Councilmember Grandis, would you read your report, please?
Sure. So on Wednesday, December 18th, I attended the PCTA board meeting. Then again with Councilmember Cunneen, Vice Mayor Cunneen, the Orange Coast Memorial Center update on the parking structure. Good news is that all of the cars that will be exiting that parking structure will be exiting on Talbert and not the residential area. So that's a big improvement. And then I attended the OC Sand Steering Committee and then the OC Sand Board meeting. Thursday, December 19th, the swearing in at Fountain Valley School District. Was happy to participate and thank the president, Steve Schultz, for a great year. And then went to the Fountain Valley Community Foundation meeting on Monday, December 30th. Attended the Kiwanis, Orangewood, and Robin's Nest bowling event over at Fountain Bowl, where we took young adults and young kids who really are struggling in life and just take them for a day out to go bowling. And Orangewood, for you who don't know, that's the children's home for kids who can't be with their parents. On Saturday, January 4th, Nancy Montefry, Celebration of Life. She was a longtime board of director for the Boys and Girls Club. It was a big loss to the Boys and Girls Club. So, in the turnout over, she worked, I always get the Hyatt and the Hilton mixed up. I think it's the Hilton, maybe it's the Hyatt. No, the Hyatt, sorry. She worked at the Hyatt for decades. And a lot of the events the Boys and Girls Club put on, we do right there. And there were probably 500 people at this event. She was an amazing lady. On Monday, January 6th, I attended the Fountain Valley Schools Foundation board meeting and then the introduction of Chief Cox. Tuesday, January 7th, I spent better part of a day over at OCPA for the new board, member of the board of directors there for their orientation. On Wednesday, January 8th, Supervisor Wynn swearing in ceremony. Tuesday, January 14th, the Summerfest committee meeting. We're already planning for Summerfest. And then attended the Rotary meeting, which was pretty fun. Wednesday, January 15th, attended the OC Sand board meeting and planning commission interviews. On Thursday, January 16th, we had the mayor's breakfast. Then I went to a Kiwanis meeting. We had a Fountain Valley Community Foundation board meeting. And then also a network at night over at Istanbul Grill. Oh my goodness, that food was amazing. It was one of my new favorite places. Saturday, January 18th, the Rotary collected items for the Marine families at Camp Pendleton, and I went there and helped out, and they gave me no end of grief being a Kiwanis member helping the Rotary Club, but what a great project you guys do. I love that one. I had a comment about the fires. Councilmember Harper covered that. I want to wish everybody a Chukmung Namoy, a Happy New Year. So next Tuesday is the Lunar New Year. Our mayor is dressed for the occasion, and he and I had some fun. We went out and did some TV promotions on Vietnamese television, wishing everybody, I love saying it, a Chukmung Namoy. I know I'm close. It's not great, but it's close. And then Megan Wishner, she's not here again, but Megan, this is her last meeting for a while. She's having a little baby. She's, I think, just weeks away now from the due date, and we're super excited for her. And she did such an amazing job last year helping me as the mayor with all the visual events that we put on. So we wish Megan good luck.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Grandis, for your report. All right, my report as a last meeting, December 18, I attend PCTA meeting. In the evening, I attend the holiday concert at the First Congregational Church in Long Beach, performed by hundreds of students, where Mr. Kevin Tyson directed an amazing performance. It was really a lot of fun. My kids enjoyed it as well. On December 19, I got an opportunity to meet with several pastors in our community, along with Councilmember Grandis at the Living Waters Church. On December 21st, I attend in loving memory of Troy Mel Johnson, son of our amazing community interfaith, Janine Johnson. What a tragic loss. But on December 23rd, I attend a meeting at the OC Memorial Care Hospital with Council Member Constantine, along with our city manager and our Omar Data Boy, to go over the parking structure presentation. On December 26th, I attend Coastal Community Fellowship to serve and experience the joy of giving with my children during the Christmas season. On January 5th, I attend a welcoming ceremony at our new interim police chief, Rod Cox, along with my fellow council member here. On January 8th, I attend the oath of ceremony, welcoming back Supervisor Janet Nguyen to our district, once again serving the greater people of Orange County. On January 14, I attend a meeting with the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce in discussion for 2025, and I look forward to an exciting year of change for the chamber, hopefully elevating and bringing new value to its members and membership. On January 15, I attend the Planning Commission interview with all of us, selecting our new Planning Commissioner. Once again, congratulations to Cheryl Brother and Rooney Hubner on the appointment. On January 16 was my first mayor message updates, and I want to thank you, Christine, and CEO Mr. Barry, for hosting the event. What a beautiful and spacious place. So if you haven't been to their facility, I invite you to join me in the next mayor's message. I also want to take this moment to thank you, my colleague, Councilmember Harper, Councilmember Constantine, Councilmember Grandis, for being there, along with our city manager and their executive staff. Vice Mayor Kunin, who is excused. Later in the day, I attend the Fountain Valley Community Foundation's meeting and the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce network mixers. And you're absolutely correct. The Istanbul Grill has some phenomenal food if you haven't tried their Mediterranean cuisine. It's absolutely amazing. On January 17, I attended a QMD meeting. And that concludes my report. Okay, moving along, before we adjourn tonight's meeting, I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of a few special individual. That is in memory of Logan Julia Rodriguez Burris and Galabre Balani. Are they here? They're here. Okay. So I'm going to start with, first one I have here is Logan Julia Rodriguez Burris is the beautiful 22 years old daughter of Fountain Valley Police Department employee, Sherilyn Rodriguez. She passed away unexpectedly on December 19, 2024. Logan was married to her husband, Bryce, and was in her junior years at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, majoring in sociology. In her short 22 years, Logan created a lasting impact on those she came into contact with due to her love for life and people in general. Her passing has left an extreme void in her family and with her husband, but there are comfort in believing she is with God and her spirit will live on forever. All right, would you please come up and accept this memoriam plaque in the memory of Logan Julia Rodriguez?
I've never been one to shy away from public speaking, and My wife, Logan, she definitely was not shy either. She was a very, very talkative person, and I truly loved that about her. And first of all, I just want to say how honored I am to be here and how very grateful I am for you guys' service to the community. And even though there's been a lot of debates and even like harsh opinions and stuff like that, my wife was someone who truly just saw the good in people. And all I see around here are people that truly just care about the community on all ends, as council members and mayors and concerned citizens as well. You all just care about one another, and you want what's best for you and your families and your people. And that is something that she would have believed in. So I appreciate you all. And I thank you so much for doing this for her to kind of help me, keep her in remembrance, and that affirmation that she really did, though her life was short, she made a big impact on anyone that came into contact with her and her community. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments, and our prayer is with you. Thank you. All right. My next person here, I have a memoriam as well, is for Galubray Balani, was born in India on June 20th, 1932. He lived and worked in India, Hong Kong, Singapore, and lived in the United States, like Florida, Kentucky, and California since 1972. He enjoyed family gatherings and did not need much in his life to be happy. He passed on November 25th, 2024, and is survived by his wife, Veena, daughter-in-law, Linda, grandson, Mitch, and son, Prem Balani. He was a very kind soul. Is Prem here in the room? Okay, Prem, would you please come up and accept this memoriam, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, City staff. We appreciate you recognizing my dad. I've made a few comments about him at his service, different places, and all I can say is everything that I have done and that I'll continue to do is to honor my dad. And he taught me how to just be a better person. So I thank him for that, and I thank you for this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Prem, for sharing those thoughts. Okay, as we conclude our meeting, I also want to bring some, I guess, a little bit some of my own thoughts as we conclude our meeting this evening. I invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence to honor the lives lost and the unfortunate events that have impacted our neighboring city of Los Angeles. This time of reflections allow us to collectively acknowledge the profound griefs experienced by those affected, as well as the resilience they have shown. We stand in solidarity with the families, friends, and communities who continue to navigate the challenges stemming from the tragedy. May this moment not only provide solace, but also serve as an opportunity to renew our commitment to leaderships that prioritize safety, unity, and a future where such incidents are prevented.
ensuring that the work together we create a safer environment for all. All right, thank you, everyone. And to those who are unaware that next Saturday, I believe, is the TED Parade that the city will be participating on the TED Parade on Bosa Avenue. And the Fountain Valley Royal Regiment will be joining with us in the float, as well as I received a call this morning from the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce. Will be submitting the application and will be joining with us as well.
Is that why you're wearing the this colorful outfit tonight? Yeah.
My apologies to my fellow council member. As you know, I came a little bit late.
No apologies.
I came a little bit late today, and when I spoke with our city manager and remind her that, hey, is everybody wearing the outside? And it was like 3:45, I believe. It's like, we're meeting in about 45 minutes. There's no way I can remind everybody on time. So my apologies not to get out the memo sooner enough for you, because as you know, our New Year's is actually this coming Wednesday, January the 29th. So I thought it would be appropriate for all of us to wear today before the New Year's, but like I said, a little bit of delay in communications. So that's why I'm the only one, being singled out right here.
We'll wear it next time.
All right, thank you. There's also another event this Saturday at the Recreational Park Center. There is a Chinese Tet Lunar New Year, and it's been organized previously. This is the 4th annual. Before, it was originally started from the Tamara Elementary School by Ms. Dow, but now there's a transition to that. It's been this year primarily gear and lead by Adrienne from the Park Recreational. So she's leading that charge this year. So if you have time to go out and enjoy this event, it's great. It's free to the public, and it's very different from most TED Festival, because this one is a lot more about education and the culture, how the TED Festival really originated for the young. So I enjoy you to come and join us. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and our next regular meeting will be on February 4th at 6 p.m. right here in the chamber. Once again, thank you everyone for joining today's, and the meeting's adjourned.